So imagine it's January, February 2012 in the small university town of Greifswald. I don't know whether you know Greifswald. It's this beautiful small town in the north of Germany, like 3 hours from Berlin, and it's really close to the Baltic Sea, so it's really beautiful in summer. Not so much in January, February. It's like a classical Greifswald winter, super grey, lots of rain, no snow. There's basically never snow. And it's getting dark by 4 p.m. So it sounds really grim, but I'm actually not too bothered by it. I grew up close to there, so I'm fairly used to this. And I'm fairly happy. I'm at my PhD desk, at my office, computer in front of me, and my notepad and my pen for my calculations, and I'm exactly where I want to be. So I'm at the Max Planck Institute for Plasma Physics, which I had visited when I was a kid. And back then is when I learned about nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion is the process that powers the stars and the sun, and it's taking two light atoms together, merging them, fusing them, and out comes a lot of energy. And it's been a dream of humanity for more than half a century to get it working on Earth. Because it could really solve the world's energy problems. It's like if we get it to work on Earth, it will be an energy source that doesn't produce CO2, so great for climate change. Basically no radioactive waste, and the fuel is abundantly there, so it could be perfect. So back when I was a kid and learned about it, I thought, okay, this is exactly where I want to be when I grow up. And here I am in my cold office, dreaming of making hot fusion a reality, and really literally am where I dreamed of being as a 13-year-old kid. I'm halfway through my PhD, and it's going really well. I have my first exciting results. I have this great supervisor who's just across the hall, so whenever I have an idea or a problem, I just run across there and kind of calculate together, because I'm doing really proper theory, the most geeky physicist thing you can think of. Pencil and paper and lots of eraser and even more coffee and tea on the side. And it's usually really, really fun and nice. It's a bit like being a detective, so you have your equations and then you kind of try tickling out what the equation wants to tell you, what the hidden physics is. And it's generally really fun, except for when you use one of the pages of your 7-page long calculation button, then you get a bit confused. So my research is about looking into the waves that can emerge in the fuel of our fusion reactor, which is really just a really hot gas, and we call it a plasma. And these waves can lead to turbulence. And turbulence, from an airplane, right? And turbulence can emerge in a fusion reactor as well, and it's basically just as annoying. To make nuclear fusion happen on Earth, we need to somehow put a cage around our super hot gas to prevent our gas from touching the walls and melting them. And we do this by having a magnetic field as a cage. So my research is about how can you make this magnetic cage, how can you make it into maybe a weird shape to prevent the waves and therefore the turbulence from even emerging. I'm halfway through my PhD and things are looking good because the equations have shown something exciting. The equations have shown that if you build your magnetic cage in a very particular way, then an entire branch of waves can't exist, and therefore not the turbulence. And this could be a really big deal. Just imagine you could build a fusion reactor that doesn't have turbulence. That would mean it could be much more efficient, it could be cheaper, fusion energy could be basically around the corner. So really big excitement. My supervisor is really excited as well, so we start writing a paper and we're submitting it to a fancy journal, not quite as fancy as Nature, but almost. And so we're really excited, and the first round of review comments comes back really positive, so it's really smooth sailing. So us being really excited, and show this to other colleagues, amongst them this new postdoc that was just hired, this super smart American. And I don't know, maybe he just looks at that one page for a bit too long, but he comes back with us with this really kind of glum look on his face, and he tells us that our calculation is wrong. So, what could it be? So, you have to imagine it's this really big equation with this big numerator and this big denominator, really several lines along each of them. And in one bit, this denominator can go to 0, which we hadn't seen. So we're dividing by 0. I mean, it's this cardinal sin, like you learn in school that this is like the one thing you're not supposed to do. So I had this really, really big panic. I mean, so dividing by 0. So the paper is basically as good as accepted. What will happen to it? Will it be published with the mistake? Will we have to send like a correction? Will everyone know of this mistake? I mean, it's super embarrassing, right? Divide by 0. Then how did I not see this? Should I have checked more? What will happen to my PhD? I only have 1.5 years left. Will I need to start an entirely new project? What will happen like to my dream of becoming a fusion physicist? And so yeah, like really big drama. Until then, my life had gone really smoothly. So I had, I was like always really good in school, got great A-level results, and from there it was like a straight line to kind of becoming a fusion physicist. Like did like an honors program for my bachelor's, talked my way into the Max Planck Institute for my bachelor thesis, chose a master's in London because I did fusion, and another fusion lab for my master thesis. So like there hadn't been really any bumps. I hadn't learned how to handle anything like this, and now this. I just remember being at home and I'm trying to kind of call this friend who was done with her PhD already, and I don't even know what I thought she would tell me, right? Like I think I maybe wanted her to say something like this, something like this happened to me too, or I don't know. But like all I can remember is like after the call I felt just as miserable, like sitting in rainy Greifswald, like a sad puppy trying to go to bed, but like I couldn't sleep because like all my brain could think of was like, what do I do now? And I mean, there's really nothing that can be done, right? Like the only thing you can do is like write an email to the journal and be like, there's a small glitch, you have to check something there, and then just go back to pen and paper and like think again. And then after only a few weeks, I think the smart American, the one who found it, comes back to us, and I didn't know it at the time, but apparently he had felt really guilty for breaking our calculation. I mean, as if it was his fault that we divided by 0. He felt obliged to kind of fix it, and he did. And I know. So really, in a moment, all my personal and professional turbulences just dissolved magically. And very few people, except for now all of you, of course, know that there even was a different version to this paper, right? Because in the end we just resubmitted the paper like with this kind of very new calculation, but the result was basically still the same, that if you bend your magnetic cage in a very specific way, your turbulence will be absent. And you get there without even dividing by 0, so big deal. And fast forward a few years later, this very theoretical prediction has actually been confirmed in an experiment, which is always quite nice. It's quite easy to make predictions which no one ever checks. Now whenever we're designing fusion reactors, we're taking my theory into account, which makes me really very happy.